So we'll jump right into our Seattle Mariners this past week, wrapping up. We're getting towards the end of spring training here, getting closer to actual regular season baseball that counts. We'll look at our recap for the 7 games that took place over the past week. First of which being March 28th versus the Texas Rangers, winning that game 6-5. Player of the game, right fielder Mitch Haniger, going 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. March 29th versus the Kansas City Royals, losing that game 4-11. Player of the game, catcher Luis Torrens, going 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and 1 time being left on base. March 30th at the Chicago Cubs, losing that game 5-8. Player of the game, left fielder Jared Kelenic, going 2 for 3 with a run and an RBI. March 31st versus the Cleveland Guardians, winning that game 3-2. Player of the game, second baseman Adam Frazier, going 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. We'll now switch to our bottom 3. April 1st at the Colorado Rockies, losing that game 1-2. Player of the game, first baseman Abraham Toro, going 1 for 3 with an RBI and being left on base 1 time. April 2nd versus the Milwaukee Brewers, winning that game 4-3. Player of the game, first baseman Steven Souza Jr. That's kind of, I emphasize first baseman because he's normally an outfielder, going 1 for 1 with 2 RBIs. And then finishing up the week, April 3rd at the Kansas City Royals, winning that game 10-8. Player of the game, shortstop Dylan Moore, going 1 for 3 with 1 run, 3 RBIs, and being walked once. I could speak more about that Royals game because somebody that's kind of the majority of the news in Mariners land this week had a home run in that game, and Jared Kelenic hit a 2-run bomb. But with that being said, we'll head over to our Player of the Week segment, which has garnered Bel some attention in the past few weeks. But it's funny because I put this in last night before we even learned about what we'll talk about later on.
Yeah.
And you agreed with me. And so Player of the Week for us on both ends is center fielder, young number 3 prospect in all of baseball, Julio Rodriguez. So in 31 at-bats up to this point, has 13 hits, 9 runs, 4 doubles, 3 homers, 9 RBIs, 26 total bases, walked 3 times, 3 stolen bases, a .419 batting average, a .471 on base percentage, an .839 slugging percentage, and a 1.309 on base plus slugging. Julio, I mean, it kind of felt like this last year with Kelenic knocking on the door. I talk about knocking. Julio kind of bust the door down and kind of obliterated it.
Yeah.
It's just, you talk about it's always the talk, coming into spring training, who's going to really make their mark and say, I need to be on that opening day roster. Last year, it was guys like Kelenic, Taylor Trammell worked his way onto that opening day roster. Julio, I mean, 419 average is just outrageous. You look at some of the key plays. Something that is going to be looked back on is that inside the park home run he hit. I believe it was against the Rockies. The number 3 prospect in baseball, I think he should be higher. But as a guy that he just loves having fun, he's like 21, 22.
Wow.
He's only a little bit older than me. And has really left a mark and should really be a lot of fun to see him at T-Mobile Park all season. I mean, do you want to say anything about what you've been able to garner since then?
I mean, just looking at all of the players for the week and their performances, and it was hard not to agree with Chuck. I did see your selection before I made mine, but it was really just hard not to go with him because he was everywhere. I looked at every single stat, and he had something on every single stat, and so it was a no-brainer.
And I think it should be said that he's what do we say, like 20, very early 20s, and he's going to be a rookie this year. It's very important to remember that he's going to make mistakes, but he's going to be a hell of a lot of fun to watch. He's got a big bat, he's got a big smile, he's a really fun personality. Something too that, I mean, I won't say the guy's name, I don't know how much you know about it, but last year, right before the season began, the Mariners had it was a front office guy, and it was like the Bellevue Breakfast Club Rotary. They had a Zoom meeting for whatever reason. This guy was on it, and he basically he said some really bad things about a lot of players. He basically said they were upset that they were paying interpreters. And he talked about Julio Rodriguez. He's a great player, but he needs to work on his English. Julio he taught himself English as a teenager. And has been very insistent about taking interviews in English. This is a guy that is he's he's a great guy off the field. From everything that I've garnered, every media member that's talked about him, everyone that's interacted with him, it's amazing to me to see the guy that he is, right, and the talent that he's got, and it should be a lot of fun to just have him up. I think he's earned it. He'll make mistakes. I know he'll make some mistakes, but he's a rookie.
And bear with him. The language will get better, of course.
So I'm just excited to see that, and it was really cool to get the official confirmation that hey, he's gonna be on the opening day roster, because that was kind of something. I know some of the media members were wondering, how can you keep him off of this roster? How has he not been announced yet? There you go. So we'll head into injury news. We'll take the fun down a little bit and look at injuries. On the 30th of the month, it was announced that Evan White has had successful surgery to repair his sports hernia. The timeline to return on that is still to be determined. I know we talked about it last week. Looking at it on a standard recovery, right, it's 6 to 12 weeks. But this is Major League Baseball. They've got more resources at hand, and I don't know the extent of it. I don't know. Like, what do you think about it? I mean, because in 2021, in his rookie year, he won a Gold Glove at the first base position. He had some struggles as a hitter. Last year, struggled as a hitter in the early part of the season that he played, and then suffered an injury, just wasn't able to come back. The plan this year was to have him in AAA start the year so that he could get his bat going, and you have an injury again. If you look at any team that's gunning for the playoffs, right, it's got a lot of talent on it, and there's no timeline to be able to wait and say, hey, we can wait for you to come back, and you've already got somebody that's taken over his position. I mean, is at least in your mind, Bel, do you think is time running out for him? Because I know he's really young. This is just a question. I'm not saying that it is, but I mean, Ty France has taken his spot. I know they've talked about him wanting to play in the outfield. I don't know. I mean, do you think maybe a position change would help him? Does he trade bait at this point? I don't know. What do you think about that?
Oh, that's tough.
In his
I don't want
position,
to. Yeah, I don't
right?
want to say that he's trade bait, but that's kind of where my mind is going. I mean,
right? Because I mean, if you look at any other sport where, I mean, if you get passed up in your spot, even in any other job, right? If someone came over and you had a better host here, if I go down, I don't know, take my voice box out, right? You need someone else to fill in, and they do really well.
Yeah, then there's that replacement for your role.
Yeah. So it's tough, right?
In any sport, there's that. Feels like that player that gets hurt and never really makes a full comeback. They just continue to get hurt. Yep. I don't know. You really hope that maybe he can figure it out, but at this point, I would say that things aren't looking too good for him.
Because Ty France, acquired in that Padres trade. I mean, he's always had a nice bat, but he really showed out defensively, and probably should have won the Gold Glove. I'll say that out there. I think Matt Olson won it. Sure, fine, whatever. But I think it's Ty France's job to lose, and I don't think he's losing anytime soon unless he regresses. So yeah, it's a tough situation with Evan White. And then on the second, relief pitcher Ken Giles suffered a setback in his recovery. So background for you: Ken Giles is a bona fide closer. He had a great season. The last time he played in 2019, I believe it was, with the Blue Jays. The Mariners signed him to a 2-year deal. It might have been 2020. 2-year deal. They knew that he was going to be injured last year, but they signed him to a 2-year deal, so it was effectively a 1-year, right? But they wanted to lock him down. He was recovering from Tommy John surgery, and he suffered a setback. So the right-handed pitcher will begin the season on the injured list, which it's disappointing, but you want to make sure that, I mean, the bullpen was the strength of this team last year, so I think he'll be fine. I think we'll be fine without him for the time being, but come midseason, come those final months of the year where, the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, the Yankees are coming around and you need to close the door, you're going to need guys like him. Mm-hmm. So just hope that, no more setbacks, hopefully. So with that being said, as we approach opening day, the roster is being whittled down so we can get to the final, it's like the NFL where we get down to the final 53, right? We're whittling it down here. On the 28th, the team reassigned left-handed pitcher Kyle Bird to the minor league camp. On the 29th, a few roster moves were made. Outfielder Taylor Trammell was optioned to AAA Tacoma. Right-handed pitcher Matt Festa and left-handed pitcher Ryan Buckner were reassigned to the minor league camp, and the team would send minor league right-handed pitcher Connor Phillips to the Cincinnati Reds as part of the Suarez-Winker trade. He was the player to be named later. He was the number 15 overall prospect in the Mariners farm system. I know that there were tweets about it right before we found out that Jerry Dipoto was like, "Oh, we hated to lose this guy," and so you think that, right? You think, who'd they trade? Connor Phillips, nice arm. He's got some nice stuff, but in what I was able to garner from it, scouts were kind of split on him. They're like, some guys really love his stuff. Some guys thought he was a little erratic. So best of luck to Connor Phillips in Cincinnati, but ultimately I'm okay with that.
Okay.
On the 31st, the Mariners named Robbie Ray as the opening day starter on April 7th in Minnesota. So it'll be a Ray day on opening day, but that's, like I've talked to Bel about, that could be something that gets moved back with the possibility of snow on opening day in Minnesota. So like we were talking about, I don't know how you don't have a roof on your ballpark and you're in Minnesota. We talked about NFL.com and their rankings. MLB.com on the 31st of the month ranked the Mariners as the second best farm system in all of baseball. We'll look at some of their top 100 prospects. Obviously, Julio Rodriguez, the number 3 player prospect in all of baseball, taking the number 3 spot. Shortstop Noelvi Marte taking the number 11 spot. Right-handed pitcher George Kirby, the number 32. Right-handed pitcher Emerson Hancock, the 82nd. Catcher Harry Ford, the 93rd. And right-handed pitcher Matt Brash, the 98th. Interestingly enough, there are 2 guys actually will be on the opening day roster in Brash and Rodriguez. So that's April 1st. Right-handed pitcher Levi Stout was reassigned to minor league camp. On the 2nd, the Mariners named Brash as the team starter. So there's that. The 5th starter. So that was kind of something that we had been wondering about, who was going to be that final starter in the rotation. Excuse me. And then this is a little bit lighthearted. Per an inside source, the Mariners City Connect collection will come in 2023. We'll get to it here with league news, but the Nationals had their jerseys, for City Connect sold really well. So there's that, and we'll finally learn about that next year. In more roster moves, right-handed pitcher George Kirby, right-handed pitcher Sal Romano, infielder Eric Mejia were all re-signed to the minor league camp, and catcher Chance Sisco was released. On the 3rd, the Mariners agreed to terms with Mitch Haniger to avoid arbitration. The outfielder gets signed to 2022 on a 1-year, $7.75 million deal. Left-handed pitcher Nick Margevicius optioned to AAA Tacoma. And then on the 4th, this morning, the team found out that Julio Rodriguez will be on the Mariners opening day roster, and we found out that opening day is sold out.
That's a great picture, by the way.
I mean, come on. He got the glasses. You can see there, he's got his custom batting practice bat. Come on.
Looks like a starter to me.
Yeah. So with that, Bel, can I have you look at the league notes here? And we'll get to that City Connect jersey, which I think is really cool, actually.
Yeah. So on the 31st, it was announced that the National City Connect jerseys set a record. Their Washington's Cherry Blossom jersey sets first day City Connect sales record, beating next best by 58%. On April 1st, it was announced that the MLB would mic up the umpires for reviews. Umpires will use a microphone to announce replay review decisions to the crowd starting next week. And then on April 3rd, Carlos Beltran speaks on 2017. Former Astro addresses if there is a stain on the team's title during their 2017 scandal by saying, "We were wrong."
I don't even want to touch the Houston stuff. That's this whole thing. But I don't know. You and I are kind of accustomed to the NFL and the NBA where, well, I don't know how much they do at the NBA towards the whole arena. They do it on the broadcast, right? Where the refs will announce what actually happened, right? Like in NFL, they do that.
Yeah.
But the NBA know that they'll talk like on the major broadcasts. They'll talk to the broadcasters to explain the ruling so that they can pass that on. But I think this is good. I mean, you kind of want that transparency, especially with the calls for robot umpires,
Yes.
you kind of want that transparency. You
Oh,
want to know
yeah.
what's going on. You want to know why that decision was made, as opposed to, oh, that was overturned, right? So I think that's good overall. I mean, I don't want to touch the Astros thing, but I think that's a positive step, especially with all the lockouts done. Like you're saying, you don't want to ruin that anymore with games getting pushed back. So, with that being said, the Mariners now sit at an 8-6 record. We'll look here at their upcoming games. April 4th versus the Arizona Diamondbacks at 1:10. That's game's currently going on. The Mariners are currently down 2-0.
No.
In the bottom of the 4th. April 5th at the Cincinnati Reds at 12:05. So that wraps up spring training. We'll get done with those. And then we head over to regular season. We'll have regular season baseball, hopefully. Right.
If Minnesota has good weather.
Yeah. The 7th, wrong one. 7th, 9th, and 10th, the team will take on the Minnesota Twins for the opening series out in Minnesota on the road. Minnesota has some talent. They've got some pieces. Byron Buxton, they signed Carlos Correa to a weird deal with a lot of options. I know that last year to begin the season, the Twins kind of give the Mariners some headaches. So we'll see how that goes, but it'll be exciting to just get meaningful baseball back.
Yeah.
Regardless of if it gets. I mean, I'm sure we'll have it by the time we see you on Monday, but I'm just happy to have it back. Just happy to have it back, and really excited for Julio Rodriguez. So with that being said,
hopefully the weather doesn't delay things any further, because we've missed enough games for the season.
Yeah, we would have had regular season games for you right now.
Yeah,
because the season's supposed to begin on the 31st. Yep. So yeah,